Hello and welcome back to A Shot of Wildlife. If this video has made it onto the internet, it means I've been successful, as right now I'm at RSPB Strumpshaw Fen and I'm hoping to find and film a baby crane. Now, I've never seen one before. I know there's one here, but apparently it's really well hidden, but I have got a secret weapon. So let's get out into the marsh and see what we can find. Although the crane chick was my main target, I didn't make it very far before stopping to film this. A brown hare having a nibble, a bit of a scratch, and rubbing itself on the ground. I don't know what, or even if it was eating anything, but this behaviour reminded me a little bit of how house cats sometimes act with catnip. In Norfolk, these animals are quite common, and despite being the fastest land mammal in the UK, after spotting me, this one slowly hopped off into the vegetation. A brilliant start, but time was of the essence. I had probably an hour and a half before sunset, and the cranes, if they were here, would definitely not be in the wet woodland that I was passing through. Thankfully, it soon opened up to a track alongside a dense grazing marsh, and I quickly realised that whilst I was looking for wildlife, it was looking at me. This is an animal you are only likely to see in East Anglia, a Chinese water deer. Although they can and sometimes do swim, their typical habitat is marshland and reed beds, and at just 50 centimeters tall at the shoulder, they can easily hide among the tall vegetation. Or at least they could, until now. You'll have to forgive me for this shaky footage. It was handheld and rushed, but from now on, warm-blooded animals have nowhere left to hide. Yep, my secret weapon. I've got a thermal scope. I'm trialling it out for this company called Hick Micro, and if you want to know a little bit more about it, there'll be a link to it in the description of this video. Now I can hear the cranes in the distance. They're actually behind that tree line there. So I'm going to leave the reserve and walk along a track, and hopefully I'll get a good look at them from there, or hopefully I'll be able to see them at all. Let's see. I don't know if you heard that, but that's what I'm going to. With the cranes calling in the distance, my hopes were high. I filmed them a few years ago, but I've never seen a chick before. Fingers crossed. Passing by a horse paddock, I noticed a small bird searching for insects among the short grass. This is a missel thrush, the largest member of the thrush family in this country, with a wingspan of around 45 centimeters. As I walked along the track, I kept an eye in the direction of the crane calls, but although I was going the right way, the calls, which I was struggling to catch on camera, seemed to get further and further from me. Down the track, I entered a second RSPB reserve, Buckingham Marshes, where I stopped to say hello to these friendly cows. My fear of them is slowly fading, but I'm not sure I would have been this close without a fence in between us. And then I saw a couple of large birds flying in from the distance. Yes, the cranes are here. There's two that's flown in, they're both adults, but if there's two here, it could mean there's more nearby somewhere. I'm going to keep a lookout and hopefully see my first ever crane chick. I can't miss recently. Recently I've just seen wildlife, or the things I've been looking for, every single time I've made a trip. I love it, I love it. These are Eurasian cranes and are often referred to as the tallest birds in the UK. Although a native, they went extinct here in the 1700s and only recently naturally recolonised into Norfolk. They are also the subject of reintroduction programmes at other sites in the country, and things are definitely looking up for them. These two were quite far away, so I carried on down the track, passing a pair of mute swans and their young cygnets. They only had 4, which is quite a small clutch. I have known them to have 9 at one time. Mute swans are brilliant parents, and as 42% of the cygnets that hatch survive to 3 years of age, it's likely at least one of these chicks will live to reproduce itself. There are more Chinese water deer here too. Both sexes have tusks that protrude over their bottom lips, but as males are usually noticeably longer than females, and given the size of this one's, it is a male. Based on recent counts, it's thought that more than a third of the world's population of Chinese water deer are now found in the UK, and in their native range of China and Korea, they are at serious risk of extinction. For some reason, I didn't film any walking footage along the next section of path, and aside from this grey heron flyby, I didn't film any other wildlife either. But I did get a bit of a closer view of the cranes. They form strong pair bonds, and although this pair have clearly not been successful at raising any chicks this year, they will almost definitely stay together and try again next spring. They can live for between 20 and 40 years in the wild, so they will get plenty of attempts at raising chicks in their lifetimes. Even whilst watching these two with such an excellent view, I could still hear the others in the distance, perhaps with their chick. It sounded like they were back in the direction I came from, and as the sun was beginning to set, I decided for one last try at spotting them. As I passed by once more, one of the cygnets had chosen an inconsiderate place to settle down for the night, right on its mother's face. She didn't seem too upset by this, and I suppose at least this way she can make sure that it's not getting itself in any trouble. When I got to the spot where I thought I would have the best chance of seeing the other cranes, I did test the thermal camera again, but the footage I filmed is too shaky and a bit out of focus to show much of, and I didn't see anything anyway. Next time I'll use a tripod and less of the inbuilt digital zoom. Lessons have been learned. Just as I was leaving the reserve, I was lucky enough to see this family of European rabbits who hadn't spotted me. Here there is one adult, and at one point I counted 6 youngsters. We've all heard the saying to breed like rabbits, and it's based a bit in truth. Each female or doe can produce between 50 and 65 kits in a single year. And this is probably as good a place as any to call it a day for this video. If you did enjoy it, then you probably will also like this one that's on the screen here now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.